Just a heads up, this video does contain spoilers for Sonic 3. Hey, what's up? I'm Channel Pup Fanboy Supervillain, and today we're going to be ranking all of the Robotnik drip. From worst to best, I thought I'd do a simple video just to cap this year off with. Besides, how funny would it be to end the year of Shadow with a video that isn't about Shadow? I am really pretending I had this all planned out. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to support me further, the link to my Patreon page is in the description below. All support is super appreciated. Thank you very much. First things first, this is just my opinion. I'm not going for any outright objectivity when it comes to this ranking. So if you have a different opinion, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And this is not every single different look and art style that Dr. Robotnik has ever had. That would be ludicrous. Instead, I've refined it down to 21 different looks that could represent a specific series or continuity. With that out of the way, let's get to the number 21 pick for the worst of the Dr. Robotnik looks. In last place, we have Mr. Dr. Eggman from Sonic Prime. This look is just tacky, which it's meant to be, clearly. What we have here is very reminiscent to a sort of a roller skating outfit. You ever see Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn? You know that one scene where she's at the roller derby? Yeah, it's like that. He's also sporting a wig as well, and his outfit is emblazoned with lightning strikes and stars. It's just very tacky and tasteless, and that's by design. I get it, it's deliberate, but why the fuck they go for this approach? In universe, this is meant to be the Dr. Eggman who won, who successfully took over the world. Ask yourself, if Eggman won, what would he look like? How would he present himself? I don't think this is it. Sure, he's quite a comedic villain, but I don't think he lacks this much self-awareness. Especially when his regular outfit is awesome as hell. I just don't get the thought process behind this one. Like, literally at all. I don't understand it. Which is why it is in last place. In at number 20 is Movie 3 Look B, the dance jumpsuit. These are the dance leotards that Dr. Robotnik has designed for himself and his dear grandfather Gerald to shield them from the laser field at gun headquarters. This is another one that is deliberately tacky, but I also understand why. But it's also helped by the fact that this is not Dr. Robotnik's main look for this movie. He just wears it for a single scene. If he'd worn it for the entirety of the film, I guess I would have a lower opinion of it, but personally I think it's fine for what it is. Not much more to really say here, so let's move on to number 19. In at number 19 is Eggman not saying that out loud. I just don't trust Twitter. Soul Dimension Eggman. Eggman Soul. See, so easy. Now, I know a lot of people love this design. I personally don't. I think this design is ass. But there is some credit that I can give to it. I do like that it's a little in touch with Dr. Robotnik's roots. For one, the yellow triangles over the shoulders kind of making up the look of Eggman's cape from the original games. Also, his jacket is very Bumblebee-coded, which was kind of how Robotnik's early concept design looked. And the cuffs on the jacket do look pretty cool, admittedly. But then there is just everything else. What is this meant to be? Like, he's a more powerful Eggman, but like, why does it look like he's in the midst of a midlife crisis? Again, very tacky and tasteless, a bit like Mr. Dr. Eggman. We've got these new glasses that do not fit the shape of his eyebrows, resulting in it just looking bad. What the hell are these kicks? And him wearing a red leotard under the jacket just looks stupid. Why does he have skiing goggles on the top of his head? If he's meant to be Dr. Robotnik's descendant, which is what they're going for nowadays rather than an interdimensional counterpart, why does he have grey hair? What is this metal strip going up here? Is that meant to be a zipper? Because it sure as hell doesn't look like one. This design just doesn't work in my opinion. Like, nothing comes together correctly. I don't know if that was deliberate, but I don't know what this look is meant to be even trying to communicate to us about this character. I know Soul Dimension Eggman has his fans. I mean, I'm a fan of the Rush series as well. And just the general concept of this character, yeah, he's kind of cool, but this design doesn't do it for me. Sucks. In at number 18 is Movie 1A. This was Dr. Robotnik's main look that he sported for the majority of the first movie, and wow. Boy, do we have a remnant of the 2010s era of being ashamed of the source material. This does take up two movie tropes here. A, having to earn the classic look, and B, stripping away everything that makes a design iconic in favor of an all-black getup. Jim Carrey's Robotnik isn't fat, but this Robotnik also has a full head of hair. He doesn't wear round shades or goggles. Gone is the red outfit. What we have here is just Jim Carrey with a handlebar mustache, which I actually thought was an okay choice, wearing a black trench coat. He doesn't look like Dr. Robotnik in the slightest. Now, I guess I can appreciate the logic of this is what Dr. Robotnik looked like back when he was a normal guy, before he really truly became Dr. Robotnik. But let's be real, let's be honest here. Did they do that because that was the story they wanted to tell? Or did they do that because they didn't want him to be in his classic Robotnik look for the majority of the movie because they didn't think it would work? I'm not saying for definite either way because I was not involved in the production of this movie, but I think the latter is a bit more likely, knowing my movie adaptations. Also, the fact that he still acts just like Dr. Robotnik throughout all of the first movie. I mean, some would say he acts more like a typical Dr. Robotnik in the first movie than he does in the latter ones, which lean much more into that classic Jim Carrey style of performance. But I mean, at least put some red on the outfit. I know there's a bit of red lining inside of the jacket, but really, is that it? Simply, he doesn't look like Dr. Robotnik. He looks like Dick Dastardly. Or maybe Sportacus in his emo era. This could literally be anyone. It's not a terrible look for a villain, but it just isn't Dr. Robotnik. And in a movie that was fairly skint when it came to Sonic mythology, I think they could have at least given us a more accurate Dr. Robotnik look throughout the rest of the movie. In at number 17 is the Shogakukan Manga Eggman, who doesn't appear much, but he's got a very interesting design. I cannot call this version of the character Dr. Robotnik for two reasons. One, because this comes from an inherently Japanese piece of media, and two, because look at him. Yeah, he's an Eggman, no two ways about it. This takes that classic Eggman look and turns him into an egg, which actually makes so much sense for a character called Dr. Eggman. While it's not the most threatening look the character's ever had, nor is it the most interesting design-wise, I have to say I do appreciate what they did with this here. Really wearing the egg theming on his sleeve this time. The old Sonic Shogakukan manga is a wonderfully quirky piece of Sonic media that I think everyone should check out. There are English versions available online, unofficially, bear in mind. So I'm not saying go read it, but also, like, you know. I mean, there's not really any legal way to purchase this anyway. Whatever. They really ought to republish this stuff. In at number 16 is Movie 1B, which is the red flight suit and goggles, while still keeping the handlebar mustache and the full head of hair. This is the look that Dr. Robotnik sports for the final battle of that first Sonic movie, and this right here is what he should have been wearing for the entirety of the film, in my opinion. Because this is one where I'll happily accept that it is a redesign of Dr. Robotnik, but at least it doesn't completely ditch everything that makes that design iconic. He's still got the red color scheme, he's got the goggles, pair that with the handlebar mustache, and it works. No, he still doesn't really look how I expect Dr. Robotnik to look, but it's at least a little closer. There are at least elements of that classic design starting to bleed through. If we treated this as the very start of Dr. Robotnik's evolution, you can see elements here that would start to adapt into that classic Robotnik look in the later films, without completely losing everything that makes that a striking character design. We're still not escaping the fact that he does look like an evil Sportacus, but I think this is a fair compromise. At this point, I have accepted that films do change things from the source material, so if this were just the way Robotnik looked in the films, while it wouldn't be my preference by any stretch, I could at least accept this. For what it is, it works. In at number 15 is the SatAM/Underground/early Archie look for Dr. Robotnik. Probably most well known for the SatAM cartoon. This is one of the more sinister looks the character has ever had, and that works because this was one of the more sinister versions of the character in the SatAM cartoon before kind of being reverted to his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog personality for the early Archie comics. Now, with a name like Dr. Robotnik, I guess you would expect him to have some robotic augmentations, and this version of the character certainly has that. As he's got these metal ears, he's got this big metal arm, he's kind of doing a Winter Soldier kind of thing. But this is also a version of the character who's kind of on the top of his game as well, if we are referring to SatAM. So he has a fittingly decadent design with these giant shoulder pads here and this big yellow cape. He's got the inverted red eyes as well, which carry over from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog design, as well as the red, gold, and black outfit with the grey trunks carrying over from his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog design. We've basically taken Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog's Robotnik and evolved him into a much more intimidating version of the character, and I think this design works really well for that. What I will say is I think his face and overall head design is a bit of a downgrade from his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog look. That big sausage nose has been replaced with just a little nose. The big decadent moustache has been replaced with a comparatively wimpy one. And again, I understand why they've done that. They want him to look a little less cartoony, but I just don't think his head looks as impressive as his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog counterpart. And I'm pretty sure I'm in the minority for that, but sue me. Now, of course, while I have bundled them all in together, this look did have a few evolutions over the years as well. Sonic Underground and the Archie comics making very subtle tweaks to the overall color palette of this design. For example, Archie ditching the black lower section of the suit, which I think looks actually a lot worse. Or Sonic Underground giving his right arm a metal sleeve rather than just having it kind of exposed. As far as taking that Robotnik design and turning it into something that looks much more sinister and overall decadent, this is everything that characters like Mr. Dr. Eggman should have been. This is a Dr. Robotnik who I can believe is on the top of his game and has won a lot of wars but lost a few fights in the process, and manages to incorporate a lot more technological elements to this design without him ever feeling really over-designed, which is honestly pretty impressive. Overall, yeah, this is a really good design for the character, but it's not my favorite. Not even close. In at number 14 is Classic Eggman. And he's as high on this list as he is because he does have a very striking design. This is a really good piece of design right here. It's very balanced, it's by no means over-designed, it's a very tidy look as well. Everything needed to make a character look iconic is here. This is the base point that every Dr. Eggman design would follow going from here. And I do really appreciate the simplicity of this. You've got the red sweater, the black pants, and a yellow cape. Pair that with Dr. Robotnik's iconic moustache and glasses and bald head, and yeah, again, he's iconic. But you might be wondering then, what the hell is the OG doing so low down on this list? And well, here's my hot take. I still don't really love this look. I acknowledge the historical importance of it, but my problem with this is it's very difficult to get him to actually look like a villain. When they say this guy is evil, you kinda have to take their word for it. I will give Sonic Superstars some credit for their character render of Dr. Eggman actually looking evil. But usually they don't pronounce the eyebrows like this, and I think that's the main problem. This guy just looks jolly. He looks like he could be Santa Claus's best friend. And it all makes sense given that Dr. Eggman was originally intended to be the hero of Sega's flagship game, and that he'd be running around in little pajamas with his pillow on him. I just don't think this design made the transition to villain very well. The reason it comes higher up than the others on this list is because it is a more striking and iconic design, but he doesn't really look like a villain. But in that regard, he can kind of go either way. Like, putting a positive spin on this, you could say that there's a versatility to this design, in that we can believe that this is someone, say, Knuckles would trust, but that he could also be a villain too. Just making the eyebrows more prominent on that Superstars render, though, did a world of good for this design. Maybe it speaks to the fact that Sega don't really utilize eyebrows enough. Or maybe it's just, I don't know. In at number 13 is Riders Series Eggman. And I just think this is a neat look. What we're seeing here looks like more of a casual Dr. Eggman outfit, like a going out kind of outfit, which I really like. Adds kind of to the overall world building of this series. He's wearing a red leather jacket now, which incorporates elements from his modern Eggman look. There's a zipper going down the center, and then there are zippers going around the sides, which are kind of like those white straps that he has on his modern outfit. You got these two buckles down here, which again are like the buckles that he has on his modern outfit. And then you've got these 4 golden buttons, which are a lot like the golden clasps that he has on his modern outfit. Like, they've translated a lot of that modern outfit into this leather jacket look, and then they've paired that up with a white scarf, which looks really cool, giving it a nice color balance. And then he's got aviation pilot gear on his head. This is a really cool look for Dr. Robotnik. Creates kind of a more casual vibe than usual, but retains everything that makes the character look sinister as well. In at number 12 is Boom Eggman. And I think it's pretty agreed upon by the fans at this point that among all the Boom designs, Eggman is one of the ones that fared up better than others. I honestly think the Boom designs deserve their dues, man. Like, there were some really good ideas in these designs. But the most interesting thing about Boom Eggman is that he's not really fat. This isn't a bottom-heavy design like he usually is. This time he's top-heavy, which has the effect of making him look built as hell. But we've got a more old-school look for this version of Dr. Eggman. His red jacket is more of a military jacket. The goggles on the top of his head are a bit more retrocore. He has a device around one of his wrists that allows him to control all of his tech, which I like. And then he's got these jockey pants tucked into his jockey boots. We've got the look of this decadent imperial leader, but also the look of someone who gets stuck in as well. well. Utilized in a certain way, this design could look intimidating. However, it was mostly used for comedy, as Boom Eggman is probably the least intimidating version of this character, which is strange decision to pair this design up with that version of the character, but I think it actually ends up working really well. Like all of the Boom designs, Boom Eggman looks like he could be just a bit older than his modern counterpart. And I really love the weathered texturing on his jacket as well, which contrasts really nicely with the very shiny version that modern Robotnik wears. In at number 11 is movie 1C. The look Jim Carrey sported for that very brief post-logo scene in Sonic 1 where Dr. Robotnik is stranded on the Mushroom Planet, and then this look would carry over into the first act of Sonic 2. We've got the red flight suit once again, but this time it is damaged and weathered. And I'll be honest, battle damage versus no battle damage, I don't really care. For this point in the story, it only makes sense that it would be weathered and damaged, but I think this would still look cool paired with a fresh version of the red flight suit as well. But what sets this apart from the other Robotnik looks in the first Sonic movie is the fact that we now finally have the bald head and the giant oversized moustache. And even though Jim Carrey is a pretty skinny guy, he looks just like Dr. Robotnik when he's got this look. Like, you see this and you go, yeah, that is Dr. Robotnik. And given that this was in the stinger for the very first trailer for Sonic 1, featuring the ugly Sonic, it does go to show this was always the intention, that they would eventually evolve him into that classic Robotnik look. I'm just not a huge fan of the whole, oh, they have to earn their classic look thing. Unless that preliminary look really complements that classic look later on. There is not much to really say about this one, other than what a difference it makes for Dr. Robotnik to be bald with a giant moustache, which is basically the entire look. The difference here is that he doesn't have his little shades. Sometimes he'll pull the goggles down, creating that classic Robotnik kind of facial look, but usually they keep Jim Carrey's eyes exposed, and that will carry on throughout the remainder of the movie Robotnik looks. Do I wish he had the shades? Yeah, admittedly, I would have really appreciated it, but what can you do? You wouldn't want to cover up those very expressive eyes too much, so I guess very translucent shades? Either way, it's irrelevant now, they didn't do it. In at number 10 is the early Fleetway look from Sonic the Comic. From the UK! Now what we have here is basically a classic Robotnik look, except they've done one small thing differently. He looks really evil. For one, he is gargantuan. This guy is fucking massive. This creates a far more imposing look for the character. But they've also replaced his round specs out with just his eyes being hollowed out caverns of nothing. I love when they go ham with making Robotnik look scary and intimidating. Maybe this is a little too much, but the fact that they were able to take that classic Eggman design and make it look this imposing is just awesome to me. In at number 9 is the design from Sonic Spinball, which follows a similar logic to that of early Fleetway Robotnik, which is to make him fucking massive. So in a lot of ways, this is that classic Robotnik design, except this time he's fucking massive. And he's got his specs still, but they've made them so dark that they're just very frightening to look at. And rather than sporting the yellow cape, this time he is wearing simply just a red sweater with that sort of crisscross design that the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog / SatAM Robotnik have, except rather than being in gold, it's now in black. Pair that with these very scientific-looking white marigold gloves, and you really do have a look for an evil scientist. I've also got to give a quick shout-out to some of this guy's contraptions, because yeah, this version of Robotnik is kind of nightmare fuel, and I love him for that. This is a really great middle ground between that classic Robotnik look and the early Fleetway Robotnik look, where he's massive, but not so massive to the point that he's early Fleetway Robotnik. I gotta tell you, I think the West had some really cool ideas when it came to Dr. Robotnik. In at number 8 is movie 2B, which is Super Robotnik. Yeah, the movies gave Robotnik a super form, and it's a really cool design. While harnessing the power of the Master Emerald, Robotnik trades out his red and black look for a green and black look, which matches up with the Master Emerald's colors, which makes perfect sense. The jacket does have a completely different design as well, going for a much cleaner look with green piping rather than the layered fabric and little golden clasps that are on his red outfit. They gave Robotnik a super form and dressed him like game apologist. I can't believe it. He's also got green glowing eyes and green lightning bursting out of him at every moment. This is just a really cool design on top of a really cool idea. And we are, of course, pairing that up with the look Jim Carrey has for all of Sonic Movie 2, where he's got the giant moustache and bald head. So even though it's quite a drastic departure from your classic Robotnik outfit, this still looks like Dr. Robotnik. In at number 7 is movie 3C, which is Robotnik's battle suit from the third act of the film. Robotnik's final suit in the Sonic movie series harkens back to his original modern look. And what we have here is a very faithful depiction of the modern Robotnik design. And there's a lot that I really adore about this design. I love how the golden buckles look, the white straps look great, the gauntlets look great, the overall just shape of the jacket looks really good, and I love the black piping around the straps and buckles on this outfit, really pronouncing them just that little bit more. Surely this should be the #1 pick in that case. No, they had to do it, didn't they? They had to do it. Hollywood has a problem, man, in that we can't just let a jacket be a jacket. Now, look, you can add extra details to these costumes. You know, have some more seam lines to make it just look that bit more tangible. I think the black piping around the buckles and straps look really good. But what is all this? And it's all over the damn thing. We were so close. We were this damn close. I understand the logic behind it. I'm gonna say that much. It's a tech suit, so they've made it kind of look like a circuit board. You've got all this exposed circuitry on it, but it just looks like this outfit has been spaghettified. I'm talking aesthetics here. Like, I think there's a balance between making something look functional and making it look good. And I think taking that Robotnik design and covering it in this red spaghetti really hurts this design. I understand it's a tech suit, but this could surely be on the inside of the outfit or something. Like, just what is this? What's that? What's all that all about? I even did this little edit here, where I just removed all of this red spaghetti stuff, and I personally think it looks better. Let me know if you agree or not. Fortunately, under the film's lighting, it's a bit less noticeable. But it's like, if my big compliment is that it's not very noticeable, maybe that's a sign that the detail shouldn't be there in the first place. It's just disappointing, because, like, I want to love it. It's a live-action version of the modern Robotnik outfit. That outfit has always been cool as hell. And look what they did to it. In at number 6 is Nightmare Eggman from Sonic Dream Team. And I gotta say, I find it kind of interesting that in the 2020s, we're starting to experiment a bit more with different forms for Dr. Eggman. Now, this one's kind of a subtle change. Ultimately, it is using the overall base look of modern Eggman. Now, the colors of his suit are much darker and more muted, but they have these bright red and purple glows, which creates a really sinister look for this outfit. The tails on his coat are much larger, as are the cuffs on his sleeves. His skin is now purple, his eyes now are bright red, and his mustache is this huge red, sort of holographic looking mustache. He looks powerful as he casually floats through the air, and then he can morph and stretch himself into this beast with loads of arms. He's also gigantic. This is just a really awesome new form for Dr. Eggman, and more than lives up to the name of Nightmare Eggman. In at number 5 is the late Fleetway look from Sonic the Comic, from the UK. Here we're pairing up the overall adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog face design of Dr. Robotnik with the larger-than-life bodily proportions of the early Fleetway Robotnik and putting that in the modern Eggman outfit, which just looks awesome. We're taking some of my favorite elements of these different designs. I absolutely adore the modern Eggman outfit, and seeing it on this Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog version of Robotnik, it makes him look intimidating, but also kind of bumbling as well in the way that Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog's Robotnik was. And of course, he's dripped the fuck out, just like modern Robotnik. So it's just kind of this ideal middle ground. Hell yeah. The only reason this one isn't in first place, or around that point anyway, is just because I have some preferences which are going to come after this one. In at number 4 is Movie 3A. This is the look that Robotnik sports for the majority of the third Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Here Robotnik is sporting the red and black jacket that he wore in Sonic 2, except here it's very damaged and has been covered in little stitch lines and patches, which does unfortunately kind of smother what is otherwise a really great design. I love the way that jacket looks. But one thing I really do like here is that Robotnik has gained a little weight. He's not like ridiculously fat or morbidly obese or anything like that, but he's got a bit of a pot belly now. Enough for him to no longer fit in this jacket, so it has to be worn open this time. Underneath, he's wearing Agent Stone's black shirt, and I really like this sort of tartan sash that he's wearing around his belt area. Gives a lot of character to the look of this post-retirement Dr. Robotnik. This is a Robotnik who's crawling his way back, and I think this design fits the bill perfectly. In at number 3 is the Movie 2A look, which is Robotnik's iconic red and black jacket from the second Sonic movie. This look is peak movie Robotnik. I understand that he's still very fit here, so he's not got that big round Robotnik belly, but I am willing to sacrifice that purely just because this looks really cool. While this is an overall original design, as it's now a predominantly black jacket with red accents and red panels on it, it still incorporates elements of that modern Eggman look. You've got the big vertical zipper going down the front, and rather than the white straps, you've got this red piping. And you've got these subtle golden buckles on it, which I really like. That's a really nice homage to the golden clasps on that OG modern Robotnik design. This is also a tailcoat, so it creates that really cool decadent look. I love the fact that he's got this big open collar as well. Makes him look very sinister. And it helps that they haven't made it look like an open circuit board or anything like that. This is just a really cool fabric design. It doesn't look overly functional, but it is pure supervillain chic. Pair that with the bald head and giant mustache, and especially when he's got the goggles down. This is peak cinematic Robotnik right here. But now we come to the top two. So, in at number 2 is the Milton Knight Robotnik design from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which was also carried over to the Fleetway comics, among other bits of Western Sonic media. For a while, this was Dr. Robotnik's default look in the West. And what we have here is this very Looney Tunes looking take on Dr. Robotnik. Designer Milton Knight went out of his way to make TV's sexiest fat man, really playing into how tremendously overweight and flabby Dr. Robotnik is, but wearing it with so much confidence that he just becomes utterly magnificent. He is far more expressive and rotund than his Japanese video game counterpart. Gone is his perfectly round head, replaced with exaggerated sloppy jowls. His head is very bottom heavy as well, as it shrinks to just this little nub at the very top. He's got these very exaggerated eyebrows, this sausage nose, and inverted red eyes, creating a very comedic yet sinister look. This also marked the first time we ditched the yellow cape and red pajamas in favor of something just a bit more militaristic. You've got the red sweater and black pants, but then you've got this chunky golden harness around it. You've got metal piping around the arms to kind of exaggerate the shape of his muscles, and massive metal gauntlets. Yeah, this fucks. I also love that he's got a butt crack so pronounced that you can see it through the metal harness. Again, he's wearing this with such a confidence to him as well, that it's just like, hell yeah, you go, you repugnant beast. The one thing I will say that I'm not as big on is the grey tights and the little elf boots. Especially the elf boots. I don't really get why they're like that. I think just making these black pants and then maybe going for something more akin to the Saturday AM boots would be better. Or maybe just go for grey boots, something metallic to match up with his gloves. But other than that, if what comes next is the definitive Eggman design, this to me is the definitive Robotnik design. But in first place, the best of the best look for Dr. Eggman we've ever had in my opinion, is the modern Dr. Eggman, which is just the default look for this character. If I were to list off everything this design's appeared in, it would just be way too much to list. This was just a perfect reinterpretation of the classic Eggman look. He's much more sinister looking this time, with a much more expressive face, but also his outfit is that of a tech genius who gets things done. His outfit looks functional but decadent, with his big red zip-up tailcoat with zippers going down the sleeves, adding a nice deal of definition to the arms. They have factored in the little white egg-shaped buckles that were on the pants of the classic design. I love the straps and the golden buckles, they look very functional. And also, yeah, just adding a second pair of goggles to the top of his head makes for a much more threatening looking silhouette. I, for the most part, love the classic and modern designs equally across the board, but Eggman is one where I can safely say the modern design is much better than the classic. This was a major improvement. But what do you guys oh fuck, I've forgotten one, haven't I? 06 Eggman. Yep, completely forgot about that. Was kind of just factoring him into the modern Eggman. So he's a realistic version of modern Eggman. Except they've gotten rid of the little goggles on the top of his head and also changed the square clasps to round ones. And added just a teeny bit of piping to the black pants. A lot of people really hate this design, but as far as I'm concerned, at least outfit-wise, this is everything Movie 3's outfit should have been. Also, it's just a realistic version of Dr. Eggman, which I think is pretty cool. So I'd say put this one between number 7, which is Movie 3C's battle suit, and number 6, which is Nightmare Eggman. Put it between those two, making this entry 6.5. Look, I know it's not really very elegant, but it was either this or re-record the entire thing, and I'm not gonna do that. I'm sorry. I'll try harder next time. What do you guys think? How would you rank the Robotnik looks? Comment below, discuss, and as always, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to support more like it, be sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below is the link to my Patreon page, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get your name in the credits of these videos, as well as ad-free downloadable videos, and more. A special shout out goes to the patrons in the $5 and above tier. We have Joni S., welcome to the Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. Silver, Josh Strider, Big Mum, Grant Allen, Twilord, Coco210, Hey It's Classy, Jay Sevian, Ian, Cho Henshin, KB, RT0, Carl X, Hypes, Sad Goku, Dare Denny, SSS06, Kale Bennett released the Black Staffy Crypto Cut. Now we're talking. Yeah, let's get it done. Ken K, Mr. SP, Sirius the Skeptic, Biotin, and Vera Wild. Thank you folks so much for your generosity. And to all of you at home, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Now get out of here.